Could she be taking my place? Look me in the face. Black power. Black power. Naya, you was waiting, girl. You was just waiting. Gazi too, black power comrades. How are y'all doing on this beautiful Sunday morning? It's nice and bright outside. Thank you for sharing, comrade Naya. Yes, please, when you come in, please share. Put hashtag shared in the comments so I know that you shared. Black Power Histifer. Y'all doing all right? Yes, let's get some hearts. Let's get some likes up in here this morning. Y'all already know what time it is. What's going on, everybody? It's me. Have I changed so drastically? Will it I want more of me? All right, it's 11:01. We'll start at like 11:03. Give people some time to come in. And if you haven't, please set your notifications for the Revolutionary Book Club. Your notifications for the Black Hammer Facebook page in general, just so you can get alerts whenever we're going live with any of our new shows, you know, any live broadcasts that we may be doing at that moment. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Black Power Karina, I want to welcome you all to the Revolutionary Book Club every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here from the Black Hammer Facebook page with your boy Chief Zia. And as you all know, right now we are in the middle of Assata, an autobiography, one of the greatest autobiographies to ever be written in today's times. Okay? So, yeah, we're in the middle of this wonderful autobiography written by the comrade Assata herself. And before I go any further, I definitely want to wish Comrade Assata a revolutionary belated birthday. Her birthday was this past Tuesday, which was July 16th. Comrade Assata is 72 now, y'all. She's 72, which is such an achievement for, this comrade, and especially understanding everything that she has been through, everything that she has gone through. For her to live to see the age of 72, that's really no small thing. So again, happy belated birthday to Comrade Assata. So in today's show, we're going to be reviewing chapters 10 through 12. And again, I just want to appreciate everybody who has been with the Revolutionary Book Club up until this point. The book currently holds 22 chapters, if I'm not mistaken. So we're a little halfway through the book right now. But I mean, that still doesn't mean that you can't come on, and participate in the discussion. And even if you want to still get the free PDF, you can hit us up right here on the Black Hammer Facebook page or any of our social media pages such as Instagram, Twitter, and that's all. You can find us all on both those platforms at blackhammer.org. Blackhammer.org. Those are the usernames for Twitter and Instagram. But you can send an email as well at blackhammerorg@gmail.com to get the free PDF. Okay? So yeah, we're going to be reviewing chapters 10 through 12. So I'm so excited for the discussion. I hope y'all comrades have y'all hashtag read that back part so we can have an open discussion about these chapters and just really, get into this political education. But before we get into the book, I do have a few announcements just to let you guys know what's going on with the organization, what's going on with Black Hammer at this moment in time. And I also want to say that the Revolutionary Book Club does serve as a fundraiser and member drive for the Black Hammer organization. So you can support Black Hammer by donating to any of the links that I have pinned right here in the comments, right here at the bottom. You can go to through CashApp at at BH Book Club. That's BH Book Club through Cash App. And you can also visit blackhammer.org, donate through there, or you can also go to gofundme.com/blackhammer.org and just donate whatever you can, to support the organization. And I would really encourage all of you, if you aren't yet, become a member of Black Hammer. One of the littest, most I don't even know how to really describe it. Just how working class and I say hip for lack of a better term. But really, up to date in the streets with the people, and revolutionary grassroots organization that reflects the membership, that really speaks to the interest of the African working class, not any of these, intelligentsias, real pompous type, uptight type of organizations. We are the organization that is for the most spat upon, most despised sector, of the world, and that is the poor and working class African nation and colonized people. And Black Hammer is the organization for you. So please become a member of Black Hammer. Go to blackhammer.org. Sign up today. Now, for my announcements. Coming up on July 27th, first, we're going to be having the fundraiser cookout, which is going to be sponsored by the hashtag Protect Our Girls campaign. Shout out to Comrade Ghazi and Sister Marcy, who did a wonderful interview this past Friday, and you can look it up on the Black Hammer Facebook page. The video is still posted, and I would really, again, encourage, if you weren't able to catch the live interview, please go back and view the interview now. Such a powerful video. Comrade Marcy was able to lay out the situation. And if you didn't know, the hashtag Protect Our Girls campaign is revolving around two African girls at the ages of 9 and 8 who were molested by their stepfather, and currently they have to live with their stepfather and their mother. And Comrade Marcy and her fiance Anthony, otherwise known as Tony, who's the father of these two beautiful girls, they've been in this struggle, trying to get the girls out of the situation. Shout out to Comrade Muhammadu, who's leading the committee for this powerful campaign. But yes, on July 27th at 11 a.m. at the Walmart located at 1436 Dogwood Drive, Southeast Conyers, Georgia, they're going to be having the fundraiser cookout. So they ask that you come out, support, donate what you can. You can also donate to the Protect Our Girls campaign by going through Cash App at Valentine Children, and that is spelled BALENTINE Children. Just type that into Cash App and you can donate through there. And also taking place on the 27th will be the Orlando Food Drive that's led by Comrades Gigi and Comrade Robert right out of Orlando, just like you saw us do in Savannah with Comrades Tanya and Rashad, which was our first food drive that we did in Savannah. Well, now we're bringing it to Orlando. So you can also support those comrades' efforts by going to Cash App, donating through Cash App again at BH Food Drive. Just type that in to Cash App and that will come right up. And also, very exciting news, this year Black Hammer will have a presence at Atlanta Black Gay Pride right here in the city of Atlanta. We're going to be participating in 3 of the events that they have lined up for the celebration. On August 31st at 11 a.m., we will be speaking at the annual LGBT Greek Meet and Greet Brunch. So you can come and meet us there. We'll also be having a workshop from 2 to 3 p.m. at the No Hate campaign. That's also going to be sponsored by the Atlanta Black Gay Pride Committee Coalition. I'm sorry, I don't know what they just say Atlanta Black Pride, so that's sponsored by them. And then also on that Sunday, we're still waiting for more details, but I will be performing at the park and Comrade Ghazi will be speaking as well. So please join us for that celebration, and I'll be able to provide more details, once we receive them from the Atlanta Black Pride Committee, or whatever you want to call it. So that concludes my announcements. Now I want to introduce to you all a new segment that the the Revolutionary Book Club Committee has come up with, and that is the hashtag What's on Your Bookshelf, where we want you to tell us what you're currently reading. Black Power Comrade Cameron, what is on your bookshelf? What are you currently reading right now at this moment? Just in case you might be reading anything else aside from Assata, an autobiography. I'm gonna be honest right now, at this moment, this book has me engulfed. I have not touched anything else, since the Revolutionary Book Club has started. This book is just, it's fantastic. So, hashtag What's on Your Bookshelf. Please put in the comments, let us know what you're reading right now, what books you think are popping, so we can, discuss them right here on the Revolutionary Book Club. Get into, what's going on in the books that you're reading, okay? So now let's go ahead and jump into it, and we're starting with chapter 10 because we're as I said earlier, we're going to be reviewing chapters 10 through 12 today. So let's get into it. Let's see. Oh, that's chapter 11. Alrighty, so pretty much in chapter 10 you have Comrade Assata. If you've been able to follow along with the book and everything like that, Comrade Cameron says, I've been lacking. I've been trying to read all the books I bought. Comrade, take your time, okay? Don't overread yourself, if that's even a real phrase or whatever. But anyway, up until this point, Comrade Assata has been discussing her, just what her personal life has been like. She's told us about her experiences in middle school and elementary school, and so now she's brought us to this place where she's discussing high school. And we find out that Comrade Assata, she decided to drop out of high school and just to pursue a regular colonial job at that point in time. And she just was really saying that school wasn't for her at that moment in time. So she dropped out of school. She started exploring the work world and taking on all of these different jobs. And she also spoke about at this point how she wasn't so politically aware, but she started to read about riots. And she would say that of course how the media would paint these riots to be these horrific things or whatever like that, but something within her always made her side with the people who were rioting. And 9 times out of 10 times out of 9, it was African and other colonized people who were waging these riots. So she was just talking about that. And another thing that she spoke about in chapter 10, which is really relevant for a lot of us today, and we see this within ourselves, we see this within our friends and within our families. But she spoke about how we live in America under capitalism, where white power gives you some sense of entitlement, to this position that you have on the plantation, aka your 9 to 5 job, where you become so invested into this plantation, into this institution that is exploiting your time and your labor, for wages that you can barely even survive off of. How we become so so enamored with again this plantation that is exploiting us. And she was just speaking about how she would take these positions and how she would speak about how this is my job, my company, we do this, we do that. And then just at the end of the day, how the worker barely makes enough to feed her or himself, to provide for her or his family. And we have such pride and in this institution that is exploiting us. So she, she speaks about that, and she also talks about, how at this point in time, the Vietnam War was going on, and we begin to see, the start of the rise of black consciousness here in America, and how she was grappling with that herself. And she was just speaking about, how she would have conversations with other African people, and how they would just be so informed about, the situation the war that was happening in Vietnam, and, just different conversations about communism, and, how she would, just give these answers that she had internalized from the white colonial media, and she would just spit it back out. And then, you had these brothers and these sisters who were just looking at her like, do you really know what you're talking about? Do you have an understanding of, what America is doing to the people within Vietnam, and just how she felt so unequipped to participate in these conversations? And I believe even in this chapter, she says that, to not be informed about what's going on in the world without being informed, about what's happening in your own community, then you're at a loss, you're at a disadvantage. And so she speaks about, how she was dealing with, becoming politically aware, and, how she could participate in these discussions. And I would even go as far as to say, at this point, at this instance, this was her moment, like how all revolutionaries come into political life, no matter how you may enter political life, but we come to this place where we decide that we want to participate in the revolution, where we want to participate in the struggle for the liberation of African people. And I believe that in chapter 10, this is what Comrade Assata was speaking to. And she also spoke about, just the petty bourgeoisie that she would be surrounded by, at work, and, how she was dealing with that. And she also spoke about how she, at one point in time, took a job with, Johnson Publications, which is the publishers for Ebony and Jet Magazine. And we all know that Ebony and Jet Magazine are staples within the African community. Your mama will get Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine, your grandma, you see them in black salons and all over the place. And, she was just speaking about, how she was able to see the class contradiction, working at this not only working at Jet and Ebony Magazine, but just in all of the other places that she was working. But she said it was most striking when she was working there. Black Power Comrade Robert. And she just speaks about one instance when she was having this conversation with this brother that she used to work with at Jet and Ebony Magazine. And she said she just had to curse his ass flat the fuck out because, he was speaking about they would have a conversation about these different gowns that they would have in the magazines. And Comrade Assata was just saying, like, who can really afford this stuff? Like, who can afford, these dresses and these gowns and everything like that? And she was saying that this brother was equating freedom to whatever, black people could afford to buy and things of that nature. And she was just talking about, how just disturbing and, just how vile that was to her to have this African brother speak about, African people in such a way. And she was just saying, how black people, these black people within Jet and Ebony Magazine, in this institution, just walking around like as if, racism and, all of these different contradictions that we see with white power didn't exist. And so, yeah, that's basically what she takes us through for chapter 10. So now we're going to get into the hashtag read that back portion of chapter 10. Again, prepare your hashtag read that back parts by putting them in the comments so we can discuss them. So my hashtag read that back part for chapter 10 was when Comrade Assata is talking about how she's at this beach, with all of these different petty bourgeoisie Africans who are speaking about, their jobs, their positions, their aspirations, like how they want to have these big mansions, how they want to travel to Paris, to France, and, all of these different areas. And even at this instance, as she's talking about it, she says that while at the beach, she's reading James Baldwin, and just how her and James Baldwin are connecting, how he's talking about the ghettos, about oppression, and all of these different things. And while she's reading this, she's surrounded by these Africans who are having conversations about how they want to shop at Saks Fifth, how they want to, again, fly to Paris and to all of these different other places. As if, what James Baldwin, even though it's poetry that she's reading at this moment, but as if, what James Baldwin isn't speaking about, how this is not the reality for African people. Like, how can you be discussing all of this stuff when, we are oppressed, we are colonized? And she was just talking about how lost and, how out of place she felt. So this is my hashtag read that back part, and it's on page 154. And she says, I go back outside feeling like I'm from another planet. I feel lonely and serious. Something has been happening to me, a change that has been a long time coming. I want to be real. Am I the only bad doing, hand to mouth, barely making it black woman there? The struggle I've been going through and the struggle I've been seeing is too hard to lie about, and I don't even want to try. I want to help free the ghetto, not run away from it, leaving my people behind. I don't want to style and profile in front of nobody. I want somebody I can relate to and talk about serious shit with. This party is a lost cause. I get my beach towel and my book and ease on down the beach a little piece. Looking out at the ocean, I wonder how many of our people lie buried there, slaves of another era. I'm not quite sure what freedom is, but I know damn well what it ain't. How have we gotten so silly, I wonder? I get back off into James Baldwin. I don't give a damn if Sag Harbor sags into oblivion. Me and James Baldwin are communicating. His fiction is more real than this reality. Whew, that's very powerful, especially when she says, I want to be real. I want to be real. And we, as plain, as simple as I can put it, for any African, for any colonized person to be real right now in 2019, in this day and era, to be real is to come into political life and fight for the liberation of African people. To be real is to understand that, as Comrade Assata is saying, is that African people and colonized people, we don't have time to front, about these supposed riches and, all of these different things, all of these individualistic, aspirations that we may have. But to be real is to be immersed in the struggle for liberation for African people. And, I really felt that. And, just this, the change that Comrade Assata is speaking to. And I'm pretty sure, a lot of my comrades can, relate to that change, we felt when we first decided to come into political life. And, just her speaking about this just puts into perspective, like, what is it to, want to have the latest Jordans or the latest type of car, to want all of the, all of these latest things produced by capitalism that doesn't equate to, what African and colonized people need in terms of self-determination, in terms of having our own destiny, in terms of having control over our own lives, over our own resources. The security of our children, the security, of the future of us as a people. What is that compared to a pair of shoes? What is that compared to any corporate job that you could ever get in corporate America? There's no comparison. You couldn't even try to compare that. So that was my hashtag read that back part for chapter 10. So now I'm going to scroll through your comments and see if you all have any hashtag read that back parts. Let's see. We have, let's see, I want to read this comment. I don't know what's going on with my screen. Okay. Comrade Christopher says, only a fool let somebody else, tell him who his enemy is. Always decide who your enemies are for yourself and never let your enemies choose your enemies for you. Hashtag read that back. Yes, Comrade Christopher. Right on. Comrade Christopher also says, she begins to see the world through a different lens, education system, and workforce. Yes. We have a hashtag what's on your bookshelf by Comrade Naya, who says, hashtag what's on your bookshelf, Amos Wilson, the developmental psychopathology of the black child. I know I fucked that up, but it's okay. But anyway, okay, we have Comrade Naya who says, hashtag my read that back, oh my gosh, y'all, this screen be acting stupid. I'm trying to read the comments. She says, Comrade Naya, my hashtag read that back was on page 149 when she answered that WW. The white woman, when she asked what she thought about the riots happening, Assata felt guilty for agreeing with her. Yes, that was also a very, powerful part of chapter 10. Just Comrade Assata being confronted by this white woman about, the riots. And, even, oh gosh, thank you for that, Comrade Naya, because even when we're working at these colonial jobs, at these plantations, and, you have these white people who just are so presumptuous. And, African people and colonized people are placed into this position where you have to basically bow down, to these your white coworkers and fear that if you say something, that's too radical, or if you defend if you're defending yourself, if you're defending your own self, that you could possibly say something that could jeopardize your job, your livelihood. And, African people, colonized people, we should not have to, walk around on eggshells, in these jobs. We shouldn't have to do that. We have Comrade Daniel who says, my hashtag read that back moment was when she was communicating with Baldwin's spirit. That brought tears to my eyes. Black Power, Comrade. All right, y'all. So we're going to go on to chapter 11. Is there anything else that I wanted to review about chapter 10? No, not at this moment. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna move on to chapter 11. But I also just want to let you guys know that you are now attending the Revolutionary Book Club, but with Comrade Chief Dia, myself. I also wanted to remind you guys that this is a fundraiser and a member drive for Black Hammer. Please support the Revolutionary Book Club by donating whatever you can. You can donate through CashApp at the BH Book Club. Just type in BH Book Club, and you can also visit blackhammer.org. You can donate through there, and you can also donate at GoFundMe, GoFundMe.com/blackhammer.org. Again, donate what you can. Become a member. If you're a white person and you're viewing this live stream, you cannot be a member of Black Hammer, but you can donate reparations. Donate whatever amount you want a month, to support the, the struggle for liberation for colonized and African people, period. Can't be a member. Don't try. Don't try. All right, y'all. So moving on to chapter 11. Chapter 11 was very... It wasn't a struggle to get through, but I mean, when Comrade Assata decides to, become co-counsel, for her case, we just see, something that happens that is so powerful, and it's based on the opening statement that she wrote, which we're going to get to. But basically, she's speaking about at this moment in time, it's July 19th, 1973, and Comrade Assata is still in the Middlesex County Workhouse Jail at this moment in time. But then she's taken to New York for an alleged bank robbery that took place August 23rd, 1971. So, as we've been reading this autobiography, we see we're given this timeline of all of the different charges, trumped up charges that Comrade Assata has been facing, based on the fact that she's been captured under the premise, again, that she shot and killed this state trooper on the New Jersey Turnpike. So I just want to lay out that right now it's July 1973. She's been moved to New York. So they moved her to New York to try her for this bank robbery that happened on August 23rd, 1971. And I'm going to just read this portion really quickly so you can have an understanding of what the state, what the FBI, what the United States government is doing to this comrade. And she says, while there was a lot of indictments against me all over New York State, I didn't even know about that summer. This is one I surely could not have missed, because the bank surveillance photo taken of the woman holding up the bank with the gun was put on wanted posters that were pasted in every subway station, posted in every bank and post office, and blown up in full-page newspaper advertisements. They hit the streets on August 24th, 1971, and remained even after my arrest on May 2nd, 1973. Under the photo was the name Joanne Deborah Chessard, which is Comrade Assata's old slave name. Above the photo was the words, wanted for bank robbery, $10,000 reward. Now, we have to understand that what we're seeing is an age-old tactic that has been used by white power even up until this point today. And it's just the fact that, again, they're villainizing Comrade Assata within the media because, first of all, they have to appeal to the white nationalists, that pretty much make up the... They have to appeal to white nationalists, who just already have this deep hatred for African people. And then they do it in such a way that you, as a colonized person, as an African person, you see all of these different things going on with Comrade Assata that you can't even keep up with. Because, you're so busy trying to survive within colonialism. And this is a real thing. This is a very real thing. When you think about African people on a daily basis who have to work 2 to 3 jobs each and every single day. You're coming home from work. You have to prepare food, dinner, all these different necessities for your family. So you happen to turn on the news. So now they're accusing with Comrade Assata with this bank robbery. Now they're accusing her with this kidnapping. Now they're accusing her with killing this pig. Now they're accusing her of another bank robbery. And you have to understand that for African people, being colonized within America and having to juggle all of these different things just to survive, we don't want to pay attention to that. We don't even want to understand what's happening with Comrade Assata because we're so busy trying to survive. And you have to understand that this is a tactic that the U.S. government uses because they understand that we're in this struggle to survive. So what is it that what is going to make us stop and sit down and really try to have an understanding of what's happening with this African woman who is in reality fighting for our betterment, fighting for our liberation. So when you're pulled away from the struggle to have to deal with all of these colonial contradictions, how can you worry about what's happening to Comrade Assata? And the U.S. government understands that, and they know that. And that's how this whole thing has been set up. So, we see this not only with Comrade Assata, but we've seen it with Huey P. Newton. We saw it with Freddie Hampton. We saw it with Malcolm X, and just all of these different revolutionary leaders that have come before us. And this, what they're doing to Comrade Assata is really no different. And we just have if we can understand that now, when we see them villainizing our brothers and sisters within the colonial media today, in today's time, we understand what's happening, what's really happening, and how we have to rally around this sister, this brother, and protect them. So that was very powerful. And chapter 10 was a little lengthy for me, versus all of her, the different chapters that she had. But I want to get to my hashtag read that back part, because again, it's the opening statement that Comrade Assata, composes, once Evelyn, Aunt Ev, brings her on as the co-counsel for her own case. And that's it begins on page 166. So it's a little long, but I think that it's very important that that we have to really read this and understand what Comrade Assata is saying right here in this portion. So hashtag put your read that back parts in the comments so we can have a discussion, and yeah, we'll just go on from there. So this is my hashtag read that back part, page 166. So, Judge Thompson, brothers and sisters, men and women of the jury, I have decided to act as co-counsel and to make this opening statement, not because I have any illusions about my legal abilities, but rather because there are things I must say to you. I have spent many days and nights behind bars thinking about this trial, this outrage, and in my own mind, and in my own mind, only someone who has been so intimately a victim of this madness as I can do justice to what I have to say. Hold on, let me read that back. And in my own mind, only someone who has been so intimately a victim of this madness as I can do justice to what I have to say. And if you think that I am nervous, your senses do not deceive you. It is only because I know that this moment can never be lived again and that so much depends on it. I have to read this opening statement to you because I am afraid that if I don't, I will forget half of what I have to say. Please try to bear with me. This will not be a conventional opening statement. First of all, because I am not a lawyer, and what has happened to me and what has happened to Ronald Myers does not exist in a vacuum. There are a long series of events and attitudes that led up to us being here. Okay. When we are sitting here in this courtroom during this jury selection process, I listened to Judge Thompson tell you about the American system of justice. He talked about the presumption of innocence. He talked about equality and justice. His words were like a beautiful dream in a beautiful world. But I have been awaiting trial for 2.5 years. And justice in my eyesight has not been the American dream, it has been the American nightmare. There was a time when I wanted to believe that there was justice in this country, but reality crashed through and shattered all my daydreams. And I'm gonna back up real quick just to let you all know who Ronald Myers is. So they moved her to New York on July 19, 1973 for a robbery that was supposedly done on August 23rd, 1971. Ronald Myers is someone that Comrade Assata did not even know. She doesn't even know who this young African brother is. And that's just a testament to what the United States government was doing and what they have done to spare no expense to convict Comrade Assata. So just think about that. I sat next to a pregnant woman who was doing 90 days for taking a box of Pampers and watched on TV the pardoning of a president who had stolen millions of dollars and who had been responsible for the deaths of thousands of human beings. For what? For peace with honor? Nixon was pardoned without ever standing trial or being found guilty of a crime or spending one day in jail. Who else could commit some of the most horrendous, destructive crimes in history and get paid 200,000 tax dollars a year? Ford stated that he pardoned Nixon because Nixon's family had suffered enough. Well, what about the thousands of families whose sons gave their lives in Vietnam? And what about the millions of people who have been sentenced at birth to poverty, to live like animals and work like dogs? What about the families who have sons and daughters in prison who cannot afford bail or even lawyers for their children? Where is the justice for them? What kind of justice is this? Where the poor go to prison and the rich go free. Where witnesses are rented, bought, and bribed. Where evidence is made or manufactured. Where people are tried not because of any criminal actions but because of their political beliefs. Where was the justice for men at Attica? Where was the justice for Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton, Clifford Glover? Where was the justice for the Rosenbergs? And where is the justice for the Native Americans who we so presumptuously called Indians? I am not on trial here because I am a criminal or because I have committed a crime. I have never been convicted of a crime in my life. Ronald Myers is not on trial because he has committed a crime. He was 19 years old when he turned himself in after seeing his pictures in the newspapers. He thought that the police would immediately see their mistake. I met Ronald Myers for the first time about 8 months ago in the lawyer's conference room. It was a strange meeting, something I hope I'll never have to go through again. I was shocked to see how young he was. And no matter what the outcome of this trial, I will always feel a bitterness about what has happened to Ronald Myers and what has happened to me. I do not think it is just an accident that we are on trial here. This case is just another example of what has been going on in this country. Throughout America's history, people have been imprisoned because of their political beliefs and charged with criminal acts in order to justify that imprisonment. Those who dare to speak out against the injustices in this country, both black and white, have paid dearly for their courage, sometimes with their lives. Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael, Angela Davis, the Rosenbergs, and Lolita LeBron were all charged with crimes because of their political beliefs. Martin Luther King went to jail countless times for leading nonviolent demonstrations. Why, are you probably asking yourself, would this government want to put me or Ronald Myers in jail? In my mind, the answer to this is very simple. For the same reason that this government has put everyone else in jail who spoke up for freedom, who said, give me liberty or give me death. During the voir dire process, not sure if I pronounced that right, don't care, we asked you about the word militant. There was a reason for that. In the late 60s and the early 70s, this country was in an upheaval. There was a strong people's movement against the war, against racism in the colleges, on the streets, and in the black and Puerto Rican communities. This government, local police agencies, the FBI, and the CIA launched an all-out war against people who considered themselves militant. We are only finding out now because of the investigations into the FBI and the CIA, how extensive and how criminal their methods were and still are. In the same way that witches were burned in Salem, this government went on a witch hunt for people they considered militant. Countless numbers of people were either killed or imprisoned. The Berrigans, the Chicago 7, the Panther 21, Bobby Seale, and thousands of anti-war demonstrators were all victims of this witch hunt justice. Maybe some of you are saying to yourselves, no government would do that. Well, all you have to do is check out for yourselves the history of this country and to look around and see for yourself, what is going on today. All you have to do is ask yourselves who controls the government and who are the victims of that control. Since you have been in this courtroom, you have heard the name Black Liberation Army mentioned over and over. Those of you in the jury have been questioned as to what you have read or seen on TV and what your opinions were about the Black Liberation Army. Most of you have stated that you thought the Black Liberation Army was a militant organization. You have said that what you have read or heard has come from the establishmentarian media. the major TV and radio networks, the Times, the Post, and the Daily News. I have read the same articles that you have read. I have seen the same news programs that you have seen. When it comes to the media, I have learned to believe none of what I hear and half of what I see. But I can tell you, if I were just Jane Doe citizen and if I did not know any better, I would have read those articles and come to the same conclusion. That Joanne Chesimard, Ronald Myers, and all the other people called militants were a bunch of white-hating, coal-hating, gun-toting, crazed, fanatical maniacs fighting for some abstract, misguided cause. But 1% of the people in this country control 70% of the wealth. And it is that 1% that heads of the large corporations who control the policies of the news media and determine what you and I hear on the radio, read in the newspaper, see on television. It is more important for us to think about where the media gets this information, from the police department or from the prosecutor. No major newspaper or television station has ever asked my lawyers or myself one question concerning anything. People are tired and are convicted in the newspapers and on television before they ever see a courtroom. A person who is accused of stealing a car becomes an international car theft ring. A man is accused of participating in a drunken brawl, and the headlines read, "Crazed Maniac Goes Berserk." During the 70s, the media created a front-page headline guaranteed to sell newspapers, the Black Liberation Army. According to them, the BLA was everywhere. Almost every other thing that happened was attributed to the BLA. Headlines that are sensational sell newspapers. The media shape public opinion, and the results are often tragic. Before you were sworn as jurors, you were asked about your knowledge of what the Black Liberation Army is or what it stands for. However, most of you did say you believe the Black Liberation Army was a militant organization. I would like to talk about that for a moment. The Black Liberation Army is not an organization. It goes beyond that. It is a concept, a people's movement, an idea. Many different people have said and done many different things in the name of the Black Liberation Army. The idea of a Black Liberation Army emerged from conditions in Black communities, conditions of poverty, indecent housing, massive unemployment, poor medical care, and inferior education. The idea came about because Black people are not free or equal in this country. Because 90% of the men and women in this country's prisons are Black and third world. Because 10-year-old children are shot down in our streets. Because dope has saturated our communities, preying on the disillusionment and frustration of our children. The concept of the BLA arose because of the political, social, and economic oppression of Black people in this country. And where there is oppression, there will be resistance. The BLA is a part of the resistance movement. The Black Liberation Army stands for freedom and justice for all people. While big corporations make huge tax-free profits, taxes for the everyday working person skyrocket. While politicians take free trips around the world, those same politicians cut back food stamps for the poor. While politicians increase their salaries, millions of people are being laid off. This city is on the brink of bankruptcy, and yet hundreds of thousands of dollars are being spent on this trial. I do not understand a government so willing to spend millions of dollars on arms to explore outer space, even the planet Jupiter, and at the same time close down daycare centers and fire stations. I have read the Declaration of Independence, and I have great admiration for this statement. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. These words are especially meaningful in the year of this country's bicentennial. I would like to help make this a better world for my daughter and all the children of this world, for all the women and men of this world. But you understand that the BLA is not on trial here. I am on trial here. Ronald Myers is on trial here. And the charge is kidnapping and armed robbery, where the so-called victim is a drug pusher, a seller of heroin, a man called James Freeman. We live in New York, and it's impossible not to see the horror, the degradation, and the pain associated with heroin addiction. Most of you have seen the staggering numbers of young lives sucked into oblivion, into walking deaths by the use of drugs. Many of you have seen helpless mothers watch their children turn into nodding skeletons whom they no longer trust. In seeing the dreams, the potential of a whole generation of youngsters drain away down into the bottomless pit of a needle. And these victims also have their victims, the countless numbers of people who have been mugged, burglarized, and robbed by drug-made vampires who care about nothing else but their poison. We will show you that James Freeman is a liar. We will show you that the other prosecution witnesses are all friends, relatives, and lovers and employees of James Freeman, and they are all liars. You will see for yourself that they have conspired and that they have been coached. Men and women of this jury, human lives are serious matters. I have already told you that I have no faith in the system of justice, and believe me, I don't. I have seen too much. If there was such a thing as justice, I wouldn't be here talking to you now. You have been chosen to be the representatives of justice. You and you alone. You have said that you could try these cases on the basis of evidence. What I am saying now is not evidence. What the prosecutor is saying is not evidence. You may or may not agree with my political beliefs. They are not on trial here. I have only brought them up to help you understand the political and emotional context in which this case comes before you. Although this court considers us peers, many of you have had different backgrounds and different learnings and different life experiences. It is important that you understand some of those differences. I only ask that you listen carefully. I only ask that you listen not only to what these witnesses say, but to how they say it. Our lives are no more precious or no less precious than yours. We ask only that you be as open and as fair as you would want us to be, were we sitting in the jury box determining your guilt or your innocence. Our lives and the lives that surround us depend on your fairness. Thank you. Black Power. I know that was a lot, y'all, but just wanted to read that portion because it was just so powerful. And I mean, there's nothing really else to say. The summation that Comrade Assata gives about, America in whole, because when you talk about the justice system, when you talk about, anything that has to do about the U.S. government, you're talking about America as a whole. There's no difference. There's no difference in any of these different institutions that, we see here in this corrupted, I don't even want to call it a country. But hashtag read that back. Let's see. I think we got some comments here. We have Black Power Laquandre. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Comrade Kimya says that 1% controls more of the wealth now. Yes, Comrade. Thank you for sharing, Comrade Valencia. Let's see. Comrade Christopher says, let's see. There was a time when I wanted to believe that there was justice in this country, but reality crashed through and shattered all my daydreams. Read that back, page 178. Thank you so much for that, Comrade. All right, do we have anybody else? Black Power, Sheena, how you doing, boo? You doing okay? All right, y'all. So now we're going to move on to our last chapter of today, and that is chapter 12. And this is when Comrade Assata, really starts to speak about how she comes into political life. She starts this chapter off by speaking about how she attended Manhattan Community College, and just the different, how she came into this community college and how she was exposed to so many different things. And again, we got to understand that at this point in time, the rise of Black consciousness in America was just really starting to really rev up at this moment in time. And Comrade Assata just speaks about going to this college and how they had a very high percentage of Black and other colonized peoples attending this college, and just the different the being surrounded by other African students, the cultural awareness, and everything that she got involved with, from drawing, writing, African dancing, and different things of that nature. And so for chapter 12, I have a few. Pretty much in the beginning of that chapter, that's what Comrade Assata is speaking about. But it was just so many gems within this chapter. So I got 3 hashtag read that back parts for chapter 12. So I'm gonna jump into those because these are portions of the chapter that I felt like were really important. So my first hashtag read that back part for chapter 12 is on page 176. And at this point, Comrade Assata, she's speaking about also within this chapter about slavery, and how she understood it, just from being a young child and schooled to where she was at this point while attending college. And I just thought that it was so powerful for her to even speak about it, because for a lot of us, how we've been educated by white power, by colonial education today, is that we see slavery as some far off thing. Not that we see, but we've been taught. It has been imposed upon us that slavery was something that happened a long time ago, and that us as colonized people, as African people, we should get over it, as we see many white nationalists say. But even if it's let's say slavery is something that happened a long time ago. Even in that same token, if slavery happened a long time ago, what happened with slavery has set the basis for what is happening to us as colonized people right now at this point. So, I mean, it's no way you can talk about the current situation of African people, of colonized people, without talking about slavery. And just the simple fact that slavery is not gone. Slavery is not gone at all. And just for the sake of time, just research the private prison industry. Not even just private, but when you come to the understanding that more than half of the prison population is made up of African men and women, of colonized men and women, and that they're being used for free labor for different corporations such as Whole Foods and all of these other different corporations that use the free labor of these Africans, of these colonized people who have been pushed into these prisons. There's no way that you can come to the conclusion that slavery is over. You just can't. And then, again, when you assess the colonial education system and how they, paint Abraham Lincoln as some savior to African people, that he freed the slaves, this is what Comrade Assata is speaking about. What she dedicates a major portion of chapter 12 to is just tearing down this illusionment that we, have been forced to believe about Abraham Lincoln and his views on slavery. So I'm gonna just read this. This is my first hashtag read that back part for chapter 12. So if you have any hashtag read that back parts for chapter 12, please put it in the comments so we can have a discussion. So it says, Abraham Lincoln was in no way whatsoever a friend of black people. He had little concern for our plight. In his famous reply to editor Horace Greeley in August 1862, he openly stated, "My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union. It is not It is not either to save or destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would do that also. Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Immediately after South Carolina had a convention and unanimously voted to withdraw from the Union. Before he had even been inaugurated, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana and Texas followed suit. In his inaugural speech on May 4th, 1861, Lincoln said that slavery was legal under the Constitution and that he had no right and no intention to abolish slavery. So it's just like, yeah. Oh, and just to back up real quick, I forgot to mention in chapter 11. So, Comrade Assata is speaking about how she's on trial for kidnapping James. What did she say the man's name was? James Freeman. Do y'all know that during this process of the trial with James Freeman, that he confessed on the stand that he was a paid informant of the FBI. And after that had been revealed, Evelyn had put a motion for, the indictment that they were, the conviction to be thrown out. And they still wouldn't throw it out, even after James Freeman confessed to being a paid informant of the FBI. Black Power Tawana, thank you. Please share this video share it on your timeline. But do y'all understand? Like, just think about that. Just think about that for a moment. So, that was my first hashtag read that back part for chapter 12. As you can see, Abraham Lincoln ain't shit, wasn't shit, will never be shit. Fuck the cracker. If I could, go pee on his monument or something like that. But don't tell him that I told you to do it. All right, y'all. So my second hashtag read that back part for chapter 12 is on page 178. And let's see. So in this portion of the chapter, Comrade Assata is talking about, what it is, what's the true meaning of a movement, what that really is. So let's read that. I'm gonna read that, and that's again on page 181, where she says, "No movement can survive unless it is constantly growing and changing with the times. If it isn't growing, it's stagnant, and without the support of the people, no movement for liberation can exist, no matter how correct its analysis of the situation is. That's why political work and organizing are so important. Unless you are addressing the issues the people are concerned about and contributing positive direction, they'll never support you. The first thing the enemy tries to do is isolate revolutionaries from the masses of people, making us horrible and hideous monsters so that our people will hate us. All we usually hear about the so-called responsible leaders, the ones who are responsible to our oppressor. In the same way that we don't hear about a fraction of the black men and women who have struggled hard and tirelessly throughout our history, we don't hear about our heroes of today. The schools we go to are reflections of the society that created them. Nobody is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. Nobody is going to teach you your true history, teach you your true heroes, if they know that knowledge will help set you free. Schools in America are interested in brainwashing people with Americanism, giving them a little bit of education and training them in skills needed to fill the positions the capitalist system requires. As long as we expect America's school to educate us, we will remain ignorant." That's, just what she says, if the movement isn't growing, it's stagnant, and without the support of the people, no movement for liberation can exist, no matter how correct the analysis of the current situation can be. And that, just being the member of a revolutionary grassroots organization, you can, what this means, just for Black Hammer as an organization, and for any organization that claims to be for the liberation of African and colonized people, that we absolutely have to address the concerns of our people. And, provide them with the political education, provide them with the direction, because you can sit and you can tell an African or a colonized person that they're oppressed all day, but we don't need to hear that, because we know that, we understand that. What we have to provide to the people is directions. We have to provide, political education. We have to provide concrete plans of actions that is going to actively overturn colonialism, that is going to overturn our relationship to white power, to not only overturn it, but to obliterate it, so that no one, existing in this world today is facing oppression or anything else of that nature. And and it's very important that we understand that, because that dictates our relationship to the people. As Comrade Assata says, the first thing the enemy tries to do is isolate revolutionaries from the masses of our people. So if you're not speaking to the people in a way that they can understand, if you're not, and I mean, it's not some far-fetched thing, because the only difference between me and, any other African brother and sister is just the political education that I have. And that I have, as a revolutionary, it has now become my responsibility to take that political education into my communities, to, educate my brothers and sisters, so I don't seem foreign to them, so they can understand their interest in overturning colonialism, so they can understand their interest in destroying white power and what that means for the destiny of all African people, of all colonized people. So that was my other hashtag, read that back part, for chapter 12. And lastly, let's see, what was my other one? My last hashtag, read that back part, for chapter 12 was on page 174. And at this point, Comrade Assata is, pretty much talking about, I don't want to say, well, I guess it's related to, I'll say the self-hatred that we experience as African people, as colonized people. And, she just, at this moment in time, she, again, in chapter 12, as she speaks about, she's coming into political life, and, just questioning all of these different things about herself. And that includes her image, like her hair, her appearance, like what is she wearing, all of these different things, that compose, her image as an African person. Black Power, Comrade Maisha. So I'm gonna read this portion right here. And again, that's on page 174, hashtag read that back. And then I became aware of a whole new generation of Black women hiding under wigs, ashamed of their hair, if they had any left. It was sad and disgusting. At the time, my hair was conked, but the hairdresser said it was relaxed. To make it natural, I literally had to cut the conk off. I cut it myself, then stood under the shower for hours melting the conk out. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, y'all. I cut it myself, then stood under the shower for hours, melting the conch. At last, my hair was free. On the subway the next day, people stared at me, but my friends at school were supportive and encouraging. People are right when they say it's not what you have on your head, but what you have in it. You can be a revolutionary thinking person and have your hair fried up, and you can have an afro and be a traitor to Black people. But for me, how you dress and how you look have always reflected what you have to say about yourself. When you go through all of your life processing and abusing your hair so it will look like the hair of another race of people, then you are making a statement, and that statement is clear. I don't care if it's the curly conk, latex locks, or whatever, you're making a statement. It was a matter of simple statement for me. This is who I am, and this is how I like to look. This is what I think is beautiful. You can spend a lifetime discovering African hairstyles. There are so many of them and so many creative natural styles yet to be invented. For me, it was important not just because of how good it made me feel, but because of the world in which I lived. In a country that is trying to completely negate the image of black people, that constantly tells us we are nothing, our culture is nothing, I felt and still feel that we have got to constantly make positive statements about ourselves. Our desire to be free has got to manifest itself in everything we are and everything we do. I'm going to read that one more time. Our desire to be free has to be a manifestation itself in everything we are and everything we do. We have accepted too much of a negative lifestyle and a negative culture and have to consciously act to rid ourselves of that negative influence. Maybe in another time, when everybody is equal and free, it won't matter how anyone wears their hair or dresses or looks. Then there won't be any oppressors to mimic or avoid mimicking. But right now, I think it's important for us to look and feel like strong, proud black men and women who are looking toward Africa for guidance. Yes. Just, another powerful statement, another powerful summation from Comrade Assata. And, I just want to go back when she says that to say, you can be a revolutionary thinking person and have your hair fried up, and you can have an afro and be a traitor to black people. And that's so true. And I've even as she's having the discussion for having this discussion here at this point in time, I feel that right now, as we can see, since the police murder of Brother Mike Brown and everything that we've seen come after that, just at this point in time, you see that African people are beginning to embrace their natural selves, to embrace the African their Africanness. That's why you see so many dashikis now. You see so many afros, so many locks, and people just really connecting ourselves back to Africa. And as she says, our desire to be free must manifest ourselves in everything that we do and everything that we are. So it's no question of why you see African people cutting that perm out of their hair. It's no question when you see African people changing their names to names from the continent. And even something that we think don't even really give too much thought to, like our parents, when we wake up every day and get out of bed, just like, what am I wearing today? What is my hair looking like today? Like, what statement is that making to myself and to other African brothers and sisters, to other colonized people, when they see us come around with our dashikis and our locks and our afros and things of that nature, they immediately think of Africa. And, that's what I want to be associated with, because that's who we are. That is who I am. So that, that definitely has to be a reflection of what we, display out externally, So, yeah, that was my last hashtag read that back part for chapter 12. And so that concludes today's chapters 10 through 12, but I'm gonna take a quick stroll through the comments to see if you guys have if you have any hashtag read that back parts for chapter 12. And we have Comrade Tawana, who says, the crazy thing about Assata's case is that all of the accusations against Assata Shakur were false allegations used to justify her on the most wanted list. All of the allegations were false. That's right, Comrade Tawana. And just to, say again, Assata just turned 72 this past Tuesday, July 16th, and she's a Cancer. Shout out to the Cancers. Hey, I'm a Cancer. But anyway, this African sister is now 72 with a $2 million bounty still on her head to this day. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up. And as Comrade Tawana just said, every accusation that they have ever made against the sister is false. It's false. It is false. It is, I repeat, it is false. It is false. And another, she speaks of, just listen. There is nothing that this government will not do to try to convict anyone who is speaking out against the oppression of African and colonized people. Here it is, you have this innocent African woman who had to uproot her everything. And I don't even blame her. How could you blame her for escaping to Cuba? Who wants to be here in America? Who wants to be a part of this so-called country? But she had to escape. She had to flee. This innocent African woman. Just think about that. Just think about that. So yeah. Let's see. Do we have any other comments? Okay. All right. Black Power Comrade Mwendo. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Comrade. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna give y'all these announcements again, real quick. So, July 27th at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., the hashtag Protect Our Girls campaign will be hosting a fundraiser cookout at the Walmart in Conyers, Georgia. The address to that Walmart, again, is 1436 Dogwood Drive, Southeast, and that's, again, in Conyers, Georgia. And that's going to be at 11 to 3 p.m. to support the fundraiser cookout. So they can purchase food or supplies or whatever else they need. Or if you can't attend, you just want to, send over a donation, you can go through CashApp and you can donate through the hash. It's not a hashtag, but I guess the profile on CashApp is Valentine Children, and Valentine is spelled BALENTINE Children. Again, that's BALENTINE Children. You can donate through Cash App. Again, shout out to Comrade Ghazi and Comrade Marcy, who hosted such a powerful interview this past Friday. The video is still posted here on the Black Hammer Facebook page, so please go rewatch it. You definitely, if you want to understand more about the campaign and why it is so important that we must support it and really get involved, please watch that interview. Also happening on July 27th is going to be our second food drive that is going to be led by Comrades Gigi and Robert out in Orlando. Black Power to those comrades. That's taking place July 27th in Orlando, Florida. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. And you can also support by going to Cash App, and that's at BH Food Drive. Just type in BH Food Drive through Cash App and you can donate that way. Also, catch us this year at Atlanta Black Gay Pride right here in the city of Atlanta. We're going to be speaking at the annual LGBT Greek and Meat brunch at 11. That's at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we will be making a presentation there. So make sure you come to that. And also later on that afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. we will be hosting a workshop, a Black Hammer workshop at the No Hate campaign, which is also hosted by the Atlanta Black Pride Coalition Committee, whatever you want to call that. And then lastly, on Sunday, more details to come about this, but I will be performing and Ghazi will be speaking. So at any of on both of these days, you can come out, you can meet with us, fellowship with us, find out more about Black Hammer as an organization and how you can get involved. It's going to be lit. More details coming about that soon, okay? So again, thank you all for joining me this morning for the Revolutionary Book Club. Y'all, we halfway through the book. I think we got like 9 more chapters left. So that's like 3 more episodes on Comrade Assata. I will be announcing very soon the next book that we'll be reading. Matter of fact, I'll have that the next book for you all. Putting out the next book that we're going to be taking on in the Revolutionary Book Club next Sunday, so you can get prepared. We can get you those free PDFs so you can read along and just really, really engage in this wonderful political education. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Black Power. I'll see you later, my beautiful African people. Black Power.